see, what got me interested in zombies? I think it was probably way back in I think grade school. Watching a lot of horror movies, watching a lot of I think Godzilla movies, big monster movies, things like that. Then there was I kind of went into the transition period where that gave way to other horror type movies and things like demons and things like that. And I think while I was in school, there was a lot of because I drew a lot. I had a lot of friends who would kind of encourage me to draw graphic scenes and things because they thought, well, geez, we like that kind of stuff. Rob can draw. Why don't we encourage him to draw like zombies and like exploding heads and things like that? So that's what kind of got me interested in it. And then later on, seeing I guess movies, more movies in the genre. There wasn't a lot of zombie movies back then. Night of the Living Dead, of course. Then Return of the Living Dead. When that kind of came out. When Return of the Living Dead came out, that kind of blew my mind. I wasn't, for some reason, it's strange, but I wasn't really into the Romero films as much as I was into specifically Return of the Living Dead, because I thought that movie was so visual. All the zombies kind of had their own character, whereas in Night of the Living Dead, it was kind of, you knew there were people sort of with, ripped clothes and makeup and stuff. But here comes, Return of the Living Dead, where you see these really elaborate special effects. And, the Tar Man, the Tar Man was just this, character that was so, amazing. Like, even before CG, effects came about, here was this guy that was, like, walking around and it was so visually captivating, and then here's this woman, half a woman sort of skeletal thing on the slab, talking and hissing and stuff, and I was like, wow, that to draw that kind of stuff, it was like an atom bomb blew off in my head. I was like, wow, I love this so much, this whole genre, because it was so visual, because there were so many different kinds of things that could be depicted, zombie wise. And different states of decay and things like that. So, it was just one thing led to another. It was kind of a springboard, and then, I'd always done it. I'd always draw zombies, even if it, even if it wasn't really a part of what I was doing artistically at the time. It was kind of like a little sketch here and there. So, right into college and then beyond that. So. So yeah, it was kind of that thing. I've always been doing it. So yeah.
Okay.
Zombie portraits came about in, I guess, the latter part of 2006. I'd been doing a lot of. I was kind of wondering what my next move was going to be. I guess artistically and just to make money. Basically, I was kind of at odds with things, not knowing what I should do. I knew I didn't want to go into comic books. I was feeling kind of too old to go into comic books because I thought, geez, what a grind. It would be great, but geez, what a grind. I think I was kind of past the whole, pulling all-nighters to get things done and all that. And I was doing a lot of just really straight illustration jobs and portrait jobs for some reason. I was doing a lot of those things. And I was really getting tired of it, and I thought, well, I'm going to, for some reason, I think, maybe it was just my headspace at the time, but I decided I was going to do this Know Your Zombies poster based on some old drawings I'd done, I guess when I was in high school or college or something, about like all these head wounds. All these people that, all these head wound, like, drawings, and I thought, yeah, I'm going to do something like that. Maybe I'll do a series of them or whatever. And I did this poster, and I decided, I'm gonna print a few of these things, see what happens. And a person came into my life, Joel Pednote, who had been a webmaster of his own site called Human Marvels, and I had done a couple of zombie portraits of my wife and I. And, he said, because I was doing all these portraits. And he said, this is kind of a cool idea. Why don't I make a website? Like, why don't I whip up a website for you? And see how it goes. See if you get orders. And again, it was one of these things where virtually overnight, and it was around the latter part of 2006. It was around October, November, where this kind of happened. And virtually overnight, we were deluged with orders, and it was insanity personified. I couldn't keep up. I had to keep up, but I couldn't keep up. But I did, and I don't know how many orders I did in such little time. But within weeks, I'd done over 50 of these zombie portraits, and it was utter insanity. But it kind of told us something. It told me something. It kind of said, well, this could be a future for you. This could be something that you could really pursue. And that's kind of we'll call it the short answer to how zombie portraits came about. There's more, but we'll leave that for another time, I think. Doing a zombie portrait basically starts with someone sending me a JPEG. Somebody sends me a JPEG of themselves or a loved one, whoever's getting the zombie portrait. I then I print their photo, and I transfer their image in pencil onto a piece of 120 pound 400 series Strathmore watercolor paper, and then go in with paint. I actually use paint, watercolor paint, pencil crayon, marker, pen and ink, India ink, Stadler pens, you name it. Virtually anything that I need to get the image to look as much like the photo but zombified as possible. And then we send we scan the image. We send the image to its recipient, and send off the zombie portrait. They actually get the zombie portrait in the mail, the original painting, and that's basically the birth of the zombie portrait right there. Usually takes about 4 or 5 hours for just a single, and it could be anywhere from 5 to 6 hours for couples. That's kind of the standard. Zombie Daily, that is another crazy sort of idea that more or less came from Joel Pednote, who I mentioned earlier, as being sort of the instigator, if you will, of zombie portraits. We were kind of talking one day, and I asked him, what are people doing out there? What kind of websites do you frequent? And he said, oh well, there's a couple of guys doing these monster a day things, like these websites where they draw, like somebody asked them to do something and they draw a monster, or they create drawings virtually every day. And so I thought, okay, you know what? I'm doing a zombie a day. If they can do that, I'm doing this. And a lot of these guys, I realized later on, did this very quick, like, you know, some of them were just like blowing ink around a sheet to create these little monsters and stuff. And here I was doing these sort of full color paintings and illustrations, you know, these giant 8 by 10 or 12 by 15 drawings, and, you know, doing that a day. And I thought, geez, like, I'm insane doing this. People don't do this. But I stuck it out. I thought, you know, I'll create enough material. And at the time, I was working at a place where I could do that. I was working at an adult movie store, and I had a lot of time. I had a lot of time to draw. So so that's where it kind of, you know, that's where it kind of sprung from. That's where I had the time to sort of initiate this Zombie Daily thing. So in doing that, I created enough material. Would draw every day, like 4 or 5 drawings a day. Sometimes I would have like 20. I was working on like 25 drawings at a time. So I was trying to create this massive body of work, and work at the same time, because this wasn't paying the bills. Obviously, this was kind of just, I want to do a zombie a day for some reason. So we started that, and it's still going today. I'm in, I think, probably the 5th phase of Zombie Daily, because I have to kind of put it on hiatus when I'm too busy with other things. I can't keep up with, obviously a zombie a day with the kind of level of artistry that I've established on there. I don't want to just put anything on there. So I kind of have to put it on hiatus for a couple months at a time, and then start back for 4, 5, 6 months. So that's kind of the story behind that, and from that, a lot of different things have sort of spawned. From Zombie Daily, the wonderful thing about Zombie Daily is, thankfully, and this is the best thing, I could never have hoped for anything more. We ended up being pitched a book deal, and that was to do the Zombie Handbook, which is only about it's only about 2 years old now at this time. And from that came the Zombie Wood Weekly book, which again, the old adage is, you put enough work into something and it's going to pay off somehow. You just never know how, and you never know when, and you don't know how much work you're going to have to actually put in before something happens. But if if anyone's living it, it's me. I have to say. Because also from aside from even the books, we've had licensed things like puzzles, bookmarks, journals, and on and on, license plates even, and things, again, based on the Zombie Daily site. It's kind of, to go to Zombie Daily is kind of like, there's over 700 images on there. So to go to Zombie Daily is kind of like seeing a new zombie image every day. So it's just this unbelievable wealth of zombie visuals. So to go to that site is just, you just scroll down and you pick basically whatever you need for any given project or product. So it's a great resource for anyone needing something for a poster or a T-shirt or whatever. So that's basically what what has happened because of Zombie Daily. So I'm thankful for that. Yes, Zombie Mania. came out of. This is once again, I go back to, the Zombie Daily thing. This is once again one of those things where you kind of sit there and say to yourself, gee, I'm not where I want to be. I don't know what to do. There's no handbook on how to get where you want to be. You're just sort of blindly doing things as you go along. And we ended up being at the World Horror Convention in Toronto. And I guess we didn't read the fine print, but it was an entirely literary convention, an entirely literary horror convention. And here I am there as an artist, completely, disregarded by all these writers, and I could have had a real zombie there, and no one would have paid me any mind. It was that bad, and I guess we were there for 3 days, and after one of the, I think it was a Saturday night, we were there, and I was kind of getting frustrated. We kind of made the trip, and we made the expense and everything, and I was getting frustrated because, what was I kind of doing there? And so I went to the, beverage cart and proceeded to imbibe some beverages, and, thinking, okay, well, this is a washout. We're ruined. Not ruined, but, you kind of feel that at the time. And my wife sort of left the sort of room where we were in, and I guess she was talking to some kind of camera crew that happened to be there, just really so happened to be there, and she came over and said, do you want to be interviewed for this documentary? Or I don't think I quite knew what it was at the time, or the magnitude of what it was. But these folks were really nice. They were great folks. They said, listen, we're staying at this hotel. Why don't you come and we'll interview you, because we like your stuff. You're right in there with the zombies and stuff. Do you have any stuff you can bring to show? And I said yes. So before I knew it, we were at the hotel, and they set up a room, and off we went. They were asking me questions about what I did and whatnot, and it was great. I had a great time. They were really nice. It was just a really pleasant experience, and I thought, well, nothing's going to come of this. And we got back home, and for months and months and months, I thought nothing's ever going to come of that. But every once in a while I'd think, oh yeah, that interview, that was fun and whatever. And they ended up contacting me because they had gone into their final, I guess they were getting into their final editing of this documentary called Zombie Mania. And they asked me if I could do, because they'd seen the Zombie Portraits website, if I could do zombie portraits of everyone being interviewed. So myself, they were interviewing Romero, Greg Nicotero, Savini, and a host of other greats in the zombie field. And I said, yeah, I'd love to do that. That sounds, fantastic. So off I went. It was in the can, and within a couple of weeks. And they ended up, it was beautiful because they ended up showing us, sending us some preliminary shots of what they were going to do, with my zombie portraits, and how they were going to meld them into the shots. And it was just brilliant, and I was so excited. I thought, oh, geez, I can't wait to the final cut of this, which eventually they sent, and there's that story. I mean, it was a great experience. When you're not involved in sort of production, you think, well, gee, this is taking forever, but that's kind of how it goes. And I was kind of waiting, for something to happen, and for a long time it doesn't. I'm a very impatient guy, and I was really waiting for something to happen there. And when it did, I was so surprised and so, pleased with the results. And hey, every once in a while I'm on TV, and that's great too. You know, sometimes we get the call every once in a while. Hey, you're going to be on TV tonight. So yeah, it's great because they show it all the time. So it's one of those productions that they end up showing on numerous channels, and then it got re-edited for stateside for their production, for the television production company as well. So yeah, it's great. It was great. It was great. The people getting zombie portraits are varied, I'd have to say. They're not who you would expect. They are, I have to say, for the most part, couples. Many couples. I do many weddings. More weddings than I would ever imagine. That is a very surprising thing. From the absolute wholesome clean cut to the pierced tattooed youth, to the elderly, the affluent, every color of the rainbow is in there, and it's absolutely fascinating every time we get an order to see what who I'm going to do next. And it's utterly fascinating. They're smart. These people are smart. They're dedicated fans. And it's so wonderful to make them happy, because doing something so personalized for them, the zombie portrait fans are just so pleased and so great to deal with and to work with. I love it. I'm absolutely blessed with the fans of zombie portraits, who are just many and varied. My influences, I would have to. That is a long answer. There's no question about that. I have had many influences throughout my artistic career, for sure. I always go back to the same guys. Neil Adams, Bernie Wrightson, Frank Frazetta, William Stout, Mike Mignola. There's just so many artistic influences that I have. They're not always obviously indicated in my art, per se, to look at it and say, well, there's definitely so and so in there, and there's definitely so and so in there. A lot of the influences I have, I sort of keep in mind of how to maybe stage something, or maybe how to portray a certain movement, or an inking technique, or a mood, an inking mood, or whatever the case. But they're all there. There's so many people that I admire. From all different sides of art, from animation, like Bruce Timm, and obviously all the derivative guys too. Who've created their own voice, like Simon Bisley, Glenn Fabry. These guys are sort of students of the Frazetta style and everything. I'm a huge fan of British artists. I kind of realized that as I picked up more comics, I was realizing, geez, these guys are all Brits, or these guys are all from the UK. Brian Bolland, Brian Hitch, Fabry and Bisley, and all these guys are sort of all from that area. That's where they sort of hail from, and even they're older artists, the guys that started working in the field, the illustrators, the sort of more illustrative guys, started working in the field a long time ago and did British strips and that. Jack Kirby, there's another guy who I hated at first, So many people, I think, started out hating Kirby, and then realized, like, my God, his work is just so powerful. And he was so prolific. It's just staggering how much, he was able to do. He created Marvel Comics. I know sort of the word on the street is, Stan Lee created Marvel Comics, and to a degree, obviously, he did. But, you cannot underestimate Kirby's gigantic influence in creating that whole line, and then, reworking DC, and then coming back to Marvel, and then going back to DC, and all the stuff that kind of happened there. He just left his mark on everything. Other influences, I would have to, Sesame Street, the Hilarious House of Frightenstein, SCTV, all of these things sort of influenced me at some point. There's a lot of humor in sort of my art. When you look at Zombie Daily, you'll see that there's a lot of sort of everything's kind of tongue in cheek. Excuse me. There's lots of gore, but it doesn't seem. It's not dark art. It's not. I don't know who coined that phrase or why that's sort of prevalent nowadays, but I think it sort of happened with the whole computer-generated image. I don't know whether you want to look at it as a plight or as a benefit. Clearly, there's both. Computer-generated art is absolutely fantastic and can be, when it's utilized correctly, can be just brilliant. But I think I think it also has allowed a lot of people to cheapen imagery and mass produce it to a point where it's 100% soulless. And as of yet, I've yet to find anyone in that field who I would sort of go, that's definitely an influence. That person's what he does is definitely an influence. Yet, I'm sure I will. I'm sure there's a lot of guys out there who I've seen their stuff. Maybe I don't know their names yet, but I'm sure that do that kind of the computer generated stuff that are very good. I just can't recall their names. I'm not out there that much anymore. So yeah, other people I would say again, my parents have influenced me for sure. I think if it hadn't been for them, I wouldn't have kept drawing. An old friend of mine, Scott Wilson, who I was mentioning earlier about, being in school, and I've known Scott probably, I don't even know how many years, like 25, 30 years at least. It seems like forever. It might as well be forever. He was probably, and it's funny because he was probably the greatest influence in me drawing zombies, specifically zombies, because when we were in school, it was more like he was the guy over my shoulder going, draw this, kind of specific things, and it kind of led to zombies, and it sort of. Every time we'd get together, it would always kind of fall back into the gore stuff. And that kind of made me realize how much I loved that genre so much. And then, there was always talking about genre movies. Like, there was always talking about, the zombie movies and stuff. Kept me going. And I mean, again, when you look at Zombie Daily, you'll see a lot of drawings that I did when I want to show too. Like, I'm not afraid to show some of the stuff from my past. It's horrible, but a lot of those drawings that you see on Zombie Daily, when you scroll through those hundreds of drawings, you'll see some of those really bad drawings. Some of those bad drawings were done with Scott over my shoulder. And now they're, now they're on, they're there for the world to see. And I'm not embarrassed to show them at all. I'm proud to show them. I really wanted to show the world that I didn't just jump on the zombie bandwagon because people were talking about it. I've always loved it, and I have to say that, Scott has been one of the biggest influences throughout my life, like throughout my whole, like the whole existence. We'd even shot a short zombie movie once, which if I ever find the tape, if I ever, I think it was on Super 8, Super 8 video tape. If I ever find it, it's gonna be leaked onto YouTube. So and you know Scott was there, of course. I mean, you know, it was just one of those wonderful things that, you know, we did, and again, it's always zombie related. So you know, thank God for that. That's the best. So yeah, influences. I could go on forever, really. I could go on forever. But those are the big ones. All, you know, artistically, you know, friend wise and family wise and TV wise. Obviously the movies too, and we could. That's a whole other thing too. But yeah, we'll keep it at that for now. I think the greatest sort of fascination I have with zombies in particular, more so than any other, I guess, monster or you know, genre created thing is it's got to be just the fact that zombies can be depicted in so many different ways. You know, I'm a huge fan of monsters. Love werewolves, love vampires, love, you know, the big rubber monsters too. Obviously, you know, Godzilla and those guys. Grew up on those guys for sure. But they can only really be depicted in so many ways, and in some only one way. You know, zombies are as varied and different as people, as states of decay, as types of death, as what made them a zombie in the first place, whether it was like some kind of toxic spill or some kind of alien, you know, I don't know, experimentation or voodoo or you know, there's just so many ways to show and depict how zombies can look. I think that's what keeps me rooted in that genre so much. I think I still have a lot to tell. I have a lot to say in that sort of visual of telling how zombies look. So, and I haven't. To me, I haven't even scratched the surface. And I think that's why I really love staying rooted in the whole zombie, you know, genre. That to me is like, it's a thrill. It's still exhilarating. It hasn't gotten, you know, boring or anything. Yeah, the zombies are like snowflakes. There's no two that are alike, you know. I think I've drawn more zombies than anyone on the planet, and here's why. I've been rooted in the genre for about a little over 4 years now, doing Zombie Daily, in which there are at least, I think there's over 700 posts on there currently. Despite the fact that some of them are some of the posts are from other sort of projects or whatever that I've wanted to show or showcase, and some, you know, some aren't specific to Zombie Daily, but I would say at least 650 or so are images made specifically for Zombie Daily. So we got that, and mind you, a lot of those images aren't of one zombie. There are several zombies. In fact, some of the images on there have like 40, 50 zombies in them. And they're all clearly, they're not just like, you know, some sketchy little thing. They're all clearly drawn. I've done currently at the time this is being shot right now, over 1,000 zombie portraits from around the world. So at 1,000 zombie portrait orders, most of them, I would say 60% or more, are couples. So that's 2 zombies per order. So now we're getting into, now we're getting into thousands. Then there was Zombiewood Weekly, which had at least 120 zombie celebrities in it. And the Zombie Handbook, which I think zombie drawing-wise, had about 180 drawings specifically of zombies. So, yeah, and I'm still doing it. I mean, I'm on the 4th incarnation of Zombie Daily right now, and just this year, it's early in 2011 right now. I've done more zombie drawings than there are days this year. So yeah, it's. I think I have. I really think I have done more zombies than anyone on the planet. So I could say that. I think I can say that safely. I think that's a pretty close estimation. And I haven't, I have no plans in stopping. I really don't. So yeah, and with the new Zombie Daily material, I want to sex it up a little bit. I want to do for zombies what Alexandra Aja did for piranhas. So I kind of want to go in that direction a little bit too. I really want to do a lot of doing zombies and doing so many. I always try to keep myself sort of in love with it. And I always try to keep changing how zombies are seen, and changing the visuals, doing things that are kind of not what I've done before. Because I don't if I was doing what I've done before, then I'd be bored. Then I'd want to kind of leave the genre and do something else. But people often ask me, geez, you've done so many zombie portraits, aren't you bored of this? It's like, are you kidding? Every zombie portrait's different. It's a new person every time. It's a new face every time. It's a new zombie every time for Zombie Daily. It's a new project every time when I do anything that anyone asks me to do. So, no, I'm not bored. I don't think I could be, really. So if I'm not drawing zombies, or if I'm not drawing at all, what am I going to do? I don't know. Gee, that's a tough one. My mom always wanted me to be an actor. Thank God I didn't do that, because I think I'd be miserable if I'd gone into that. I think I'm unemployable. I don't think I can be employed. I think if I didn't have zombies or monsters or art, I wouldn't know how to connect with humanity. I don't think I could do anything. That's scary. That's my biggest fear. Yeah, keep it coming, guys. Yeah, I'm just in love with it. I don't know what else I would do. I don't think I've always had interests, other interests in doing things. When I was a kid, I wanted to be a garbage man. I really wanted to be a garbage man. And I could be a garbage man, I think, if I tried. I could probably do that. Maybe, I don't know. We'll see. But without art, boy, I don't know. I don't know what I would do. I'd be a movie critic, maybe. I love movies, so. And I love complaining, so. Maybe that's what I would do. Yeah, a movie critic, sure. That's fulfilling.